This is the Roller and the Stroller podcast. I'm Josiah, the roller, and I was born with cerebral palsy and navigate the world in a wheelchair alongside my best friend Kelly, the stroller.
In this podcast, we discuss living with a disability, adapting to surroundings in a wheelchair, and the challenges we face together. We talk about things like going to concerts, traveling, everyday tasks, and sports.
But also get into deeper topics like religion, self-talk, medical needs, and some of the frustrations of using a wheelchair. We will give insight on how to enjoy life with a disability
and share advice on how to understand someone with a disability.
Welcome to the Roller and the Stroller.
This podcast is a Sidewallstudios production. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Roller and the Stroller.
I'm Josiah, your resident roller.
And I'm Kelly, and I am your stroller. And we have some bad news. Josiah fell.
Some bad knees.
Josiah fell out of his wheelchair yesterday.
And, well, I fell backwards, so I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't ditch my wheelchair. I might have a mild concussion.
Yeah,
We're going to do some symptom checking.
Yeah, after this episode, I'm going to do
Kelly,
a concussion test.
she trained.
I'm trained. I'm not a doctor. Let me just make that clear, but I am trained to do concussion tests.
Concussion protocol. But I feel okay. I fell on my head, which always happens. But this time, it hurt.
How did you fall?
So this is not even today's topic. I was doing my good thing, brushing my teeth in the morning, trying to get in the bathroom, and I was wheeling like I always do. And then I wheeled, and there's a little lip to my bathroom. So I went over that, did a mini wheelie like I always do. And then this time, only one wheel went over, and one wheel was still in the back of the lip. And then because of the imbalance, I fell right over backwards, straight on the top of my head.
The top of your head?
No, okay.
Wait,
on my head.
Which part of your head?
On the back.
The back of your head.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The back of your head is ridiculous.
How did you, what happened? Did you just kind of lay there for a second to gather yourself?
Yeah, so usually, and if past listeners know, and you've been with me when I've fallen, which happens quite a lot, to be honest, I usually pop right back up and then I'm all good. This time I just kind of laid there like, and I laid there for about 10 seconds, got back up, and I was like, oh, that one hurt a little bit. It was like, ding, 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 ding. I have a little bit of ringing in my ears, which is why I think it's a mild concussion, because I would have been like, I don't know, losing sight or something. It was a major,
Yes, I have.
If it was a major concussion, would I be able to record today?
Probably not.
Okay.
I've had many concussions, and as a coach, I have to be very well trained in concussions. So after this, I will tell you what I personally think.
Which leads us into today's topic, wheelchair maintenance.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes, I don't know how those two connect, but that's what we're doing today, because last week we talked about weather, and we talked about how you have to check your wheelchair to make sure it doesn't get rusted, like in the bolts and stuff like that. For me, as a vehicle owner, I'm supposed to make sure that my car gets maintenance and new wheels and oil changed and brake pads and air filters and all that crap. Mm-hmm. So I am curious to know how often you check your wheelchair and what you check for.
So I've had Furi about 3 years now, and the life cycle of a wheelchair is usually around 5 to 6 years. Anywhere past that is kind of pushing it. And I think we talked about this, how I was able to get new parts, and I had to get the frame is going to be good for about 5 to 6 years. So I don't really have to worry about the frame. It's just the inside parts, like the bolts and the nuts and everything inside the wheelchair that keeps it going. So I wipe it down to clean it with Clorox wipes to disinfect it. I disinfect the metal frame. I disinfect the bolts. I dig into the bearings, make sure there's no dirt or sand or hair in there. And I kind of do that routinely. I try to do it bi-weekly, if not once a month, when I am really bad. But I try to get everything out of the bearings so that the bearings are wheeling properly, so the wheels are working properly. so the wheels are wheeling properly. So that's kind of the first thing I do in the wipe down process. And then I have to get new parts when the bolts are rusted. And that's actually what happened, is that when the bolts are rusted, the wheelchair does not wheel properly. And we found that out in St. Louis, that the bolts were rusted inside of the wheels. So it was the attachment. So luckily for me, the bearings were fine, but the attachment of the front wheels to the frame of the wheelchair, those are what was rusted. I kind of have to just check those and not let it get to the point where I can't wheel it. So thankfully I was able to get new parts for my wheelchair, and we usually go to a manufacturer of where we bought the wheelchair, but it was also very expensive. I also had to fix the back upholstery so my posture would be better, and if you've noticed, my posture is kind of better. Okay, but my back of my wheelchair gives me back support. So when that's kind of funky and out of control, I have to replace that. And, there's a bar that I have to press and hold to fold down the back of my wheelchair. And then it got to a point where I was doing that and it would go down immediately. It's not supposed to do that. You're supposed to push the bar up and then be able to push the seat down. So the hinges were rusted there and the back upholstery needed to be replaced. I was able to do that. And then my cushion gives me bum support. And when that is kind of raggedy and it's got holes in the cushion, I needed to replace that. And so I did. It all came down to almost $800.
Damn. And how often do you have to do all that stuff?
It's broken. Well, I had to do that for Furi 3 years. 3 years in. But that was bad. I should probably do it every year just to get a checkup to see if the parts are working properly. And for Priscilla, I believe I did. I just went in for checkups at the shop. So moral of the story, do not let it get down that bad and replace it. Do a yearly checkup. It's kind of like having a car. Like every 3,000 miles or whatever, you have to do an oil change. You kind of have to check the belts.
Yeah, or like going to the dentist. You're supposed to go to the dentist to get checkups too,
This is my mobility. This is my vehicle. But that is the process of me getting my wheelchair fixed. Other than it being $800, it's a pretty routine thing. The system is broken. Because why, Kelly? Capitalism.
So what are some things that you can do to potentially negate some of the wear and tear on your wheelchair?
Well, here's the thing. This is my daily thing, so I will get wear and tear. I have to just be better at upkeep and making sure my parts are clean, they're not getting rusted, and with weather changes coming up, I have to keep that in mind. Now that I just got it completely fixed, I have to make sure I'm not out in the rain too often, like I'm cleaning out the snow in between the wheels or the mud or everything like that. I just have to do routine daily, weekly, monthly check-ins with my wheelchair myself, so that way I'm not going to the maintenance shop to do a big repair every single time.
I would imagine that you would be able to start to feel if something was off, right?
Yeah, I do immediately.
Yeah.
Because you've seen me do this before, and listeners, I'm going to try to explain this as much as possible. But my wheels are you push them in and are able to pull them out. There's a button on the side. If a wheel is not on all the way, I notice that immediately because it affects my pushing. And so I get out of my wheelchair and then detach the wheel and have to re-press it back in so it snaps and clicks in all the way. So that way wheeling is at an optimal level, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
So it's kind of things like that. And then I have to take the wheels off when I clean them, clean the inside of it, dry it off, everything like that. And then I now have a spare tube that I should carry with me. I have extra tubes at home just to make sure that I can take care of any flats that come about with the snow and the rocks and everything like that. I could potentially increase my potential for flats.
Yeah.
So
There's been times where like I've been pushing you and you've been like, hey, stop pushing me for a second. And I see you kind of like roll back and forth. Is that you checking your alignment, or is that checking to see if your wheels are getting stiffer, or what is that? What are you doing there?
that's checking tire pressure and also alignment. Because sometimes when I'm going up, say there's a lip or something, I kind of hit the front wheels sometimes. So that could jack up the alignment of my wheels. And that way I know, and then I go home with my screwdriver and try to bring it forward or backward or wherever it needs to be, because sometimes it is off. And then so rolling back and forth helps me determine that. I don't know. I've had it for 28 years, so I know, like, it's kind of hard to explain to someone who is not a wheelchair user. But it's kind of like my process of like, maybe this is a little off. Or we talked about how my back wheels could be a little off, and I know the noise of when it is pushed in all the way and it clicks and goes.
How often do you have to replace your tires?
Once a year.
Okay. So lifetime before they start to get like really bald is about a year?
Yes.
Okay.
For me though, it's actually probably I should replace them more because I like to do activities outside.
Yeah.
And like we talked about this before, but we've taken I don't think we've taken Furi on trails or hikes or anything, but we've taken Priscilla, because I like to do those types of things. I probably should replace them more.
Yeah, but you've taken Furi down, like when we camp, you like to push yourself all the way down that really bumpy, kind of crazy dirt road. Does that affect your wheelchair, or do you worry that it will?
Maybe. I don't feel that like affecting the front wheel, like the actual frame. It's maybe just accelerating the baldness of the tires in the back. So that's why I say maybe I should replace my tires a little more, but I just got these replaced around 4 or 5 months ago, so they should be good for about another 5 or 6 months.
Is there any surface that you roll on that you are like a little bit more cautious on for the sake of taking care of your wheelchair?
Sand. I mean, it's...
Says the one who wants to wheel to the top of the sand dunes.
No, and I realized I couldn't because it's just the hardest surface that I've ever had to roll through.
And then you insisted on going to the water, and me and Andy had to pull you through all that sand. But you didn't care.
Yeah.
You're like, screw it, I want to go see the water.
I could have crawled.
No, it's way too hot. Way too hot. So sand, why?
Sand? Because I feel like the little sand kernel. I hate sand.
Sand kernels.
I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. Name that movie if you know what it's from. Kelly?
I don't know.
Just give me your wildest guess.
Star Wars.
Also,
am I right?
yes!
I don't know which one.
Oh my word!
I don't know which one.
What a pull. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thanks. I've seen like in Star Wars, isn't there like a sand planet or something?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
So, but it gets stuck. It literally gets everywhere. So it can get in my wheels. The front wheels is what I'm really concerned about, because if anything gets inside of those bearings or inside of where they are, it could disrupt my wheeling motion and the wheeling of my wheelchair, and that could cause me to fall. When I fell on yesterday, it was because I was uneven, but if I just fell because of the motion of the wheelchair was not going properly, then that could be a problem as well. So I have to make sure all the bearings are cleaned inside, that there's not hair, dirt, whatever inside of them. I found a spider in them once, and I was like, I rolled over a spider apparently, and I had to like reach in there and take it out. I use Clorox wipes, and then I try to get like a screwdriver in there, a flathead. I know, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of the...
Since you kind of favor your right side, your right hand of your body, do Do you find that your wheelchair maybe leans one way or another, or how does that work?
Yeah, it does lean one way. It leans to the right.
Because of your body.
Yeah. And that is like something that I can't, is not my wheelchair's doing or fault or anything. It's just like my body and the way I do favor my right side, and my right side is a little stronger. It's actually a lot stronger.
A lot. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just something that I do, and I like to like stabilize with my left, but that's not like doing anything in terms of strengthening it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Does one wheel maybe wear and tear more than the other, or
it doesn't?
Okay.
The worst part is they kind of go at the same time, and that way, like I'm screwed.
Well, I guess it's better to get them both replaced at the same time than have to go back, because there's been times where you've broken your wheelchair and it takes you forever to get the part that you need.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks.
Because like when we were wheeling in St. Louis, we noticed the right side was giving me trouble. But then I went to the wheelchair place and they were like, yeah, both of the bolts are a little rusted, so we're going to replace them at the same time. And what a difference it makes.
Mm-hmm.
Parts actually make a difference when you're talking about a manual wheelchair. Imagine that. And you think I would have learned based on 28 years of living with a disability, living with cerebral palsy, being a wheelchair user. You think I would have learned that. But I'm a little bit stupid when it comes to that.
I don't know if you're stupid.
It takes me a while to learn.
I don't think that's specific to you. That's everybody.
Yeah. I have to be I have to be hit over the head with it sometimes. You live and you learn, as they say.
What else do you do to kind of get the most out of your wheelchair, like longevity?
When it's raining out, I like it to be inside.
I remember one time you thanked me for driving my car when it was raining instead of my truck. And at the time I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, I see.
Because when it is exposed to the elements, it can rust a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it is exposed to like a rainstorm or snowstorm, then the frame could have some problems with rust. And when the frame is having some problems, there's not really much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like replaceable parts like wheel casters and wheel front forks, you can replace those, I don't want to say easily, but a lot faster than you can replace the frame. If the frame busts or the frame is rusted, you might as well get a new wheelchair at that point.
I would say also you don't really like people touching your wheelchair unless you know them or something, or like sitting in your chair or using your chair or leaving your chair by itself. Like you've mentioned multiple times before, you like to always see it.
I like to see it.
If you're not in it.
If I sit in a
walking person, a human chair
at a restaurant or something, because sometimes I like to switch up the surface for my booty. So if we sit in a booth at a restaurant, I like to see my wheelchair because it is my legs, it is my mobility. And like, imagine if all of a sudden your legs got up and moved to somewhere you can see them. I freak out internally, and sometimes I freak out externally of like, where the hell is my wheelchair?
Mm-hmm.
I can't see it. That is a thing in movie theaters when I'm with people who can walk and they like to sit in the back and not the accessible section. I just kind of peek over, make sure my wheelchair is seeable.
How do you get up all those stairs?
I'm carried. Like Madame Zeroni.
Oh.
Madame Zeroni up the mountain.
Up the movie theater mountain.
Shout out to Henry, who usually does that.
Short episode today.
To wrap this episode.
Because where are we going? We're going to the haunted house that we mentioned. Was the last episode? Two episodes ago.
Or 2 episodes.
So we'll let you know how that goes with your concussion.
Yeah.
Potentially your potential concussion.
We're going to make sure I don't have a concussion. Or we're going to do some tests.
Yeah.
Something. I feel pretty good though.
Okay.
You should not be concerned for me, listeners, if you are concerned for me.
All right.
So the last thing to do is giving everyone's favorite segment, giving musical recommendations. Kelly, what is yours?
Mine is Excuse Me, Mr. Sir by Avicii. I was listening to it today. It's just a great song. So go listen to it.
What's your favorite line from that song?
Excuse me, Mr. Sir.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
What's yours?
I have a question for you. Did you eat? Do you have the energy?
Yes. Is that your recommendation?
Yep.
It's freaking sneaker night.
15 years ago, Vanessa Hudgens, shout out to The Princess Switch. We love those movies.
Love them.
We love them. But she released Sneaker Night. And my favorite line is, did you eat? Do you have the energy? And I saw that on Instagram today that it was like 15 years ago. And I was like, boom, that's going to be.
The chorus is like, basically what we're going to do is dance. Basically what we're going to do is dance. And I'm like, okay.
It's a banger.
Dude, why was she not more famous in the music scene? We dropped the ball on that one as a society.
Yeah, also, I mean, you can cut this part, but did you?
No, we don't cut Vanessa Hudgens.
Did you see that part? Did you see, this is not Vanessa Hudgens related, but did you see the meme or the reel going around that said, 8 years ago, Hillary Duff tried to save pop and we all let her flop?
When she released that one song. Sparks. Yeah.
Do, 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 do,
oh, that
do,
song
do.
slaps, except the choreography was terrible.
Yeah. She wasn't a dancer. She was just
not
a
a
singer.
dancer.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Roller and the Stroller. We will be back with you very soon. I have been Josiah. I will continue to be Josiah, your resident roller.
And I'm Kelly, and I'm your stroller.
Bye.
Go eat.
Go eat.
Go get your energy.
Go get your energy. Did you eat today? Thank you for listening to The Roller and the Stroller podcast. We're rolling out.
This is a Sidewall Studios production.
Boom! Oh, we should keep that moving.